Has met me by now, so I guess I can go on without any introduction.
This is Ray.
Yeah, I'm Ray Schneider. Hi. I wanted to start by saying, and it's really tough to follow on from Russ Briault and the Shroud University, but I'm really totally in support of Russ's efforts. Knowledge is a rather tenuous thing. We often don't realize how tenuous it is, but today we don't know how to dye Phoenician purple, and today we don't know how to make battleship armor that was built as recently as World War I, because much of the knowledge in the world is in the minds of men. It's not written down. And if it is written down, it's not all written down. And so knowledge can be lost in a generation if it isn't passed on and if it isn't supported. So we need to recognize that this generation has an obligation. And that obligation is to pass on the baton to succeeding generations. Failing that, the Shroud will once more decline into the state that it was in at some point prior to 1890, the knowledge of a few, select few who carry the banner. But we'd like to see it more widely understood. So having said that, we need to involve the future generation. What I want to do today is provide a summary account of a project that's dear to my heart, which is developing focus projects. It's actually something I've been trying to do at my college, mostly with very little success, because students are very episodic. They want to do just one thing. They don't necessarily and the university is set up to do things sort of semester-oriented. But what I'd really like to see, knowledge never advances that way. It doesn't advance in one semester sound bites, so to speak. You can't do a little project. Knowledge really is a web, and it has to be, you kind of dive in and you make a contribution, and someone else picks up your contribution and carries it forward. So I wanted to just talk today about the notion of focus projects to involve student researchers in the Shroud adventure. A focus project is vision-centered. It's not one thing, it's a more general thing. So it's ongoing and it forms part of a larger reality. Each contribution to a focus project should advance the goals of the project, but is not necessarily an end in itself. So it is episodic elements, but they are part of a larger matrix. The goal of the focus projects that I'm going to present today, and they're quite limited. I'm going to only talk today about 11 projects very briefly. But the goal is in the long term, is understanding the Shroud of Turin. That's a very general goal. It's a very large goal. Understanding has to be built one brick at a time to exercise a construction metaphor. You have to build a foundation. I think Giulio and the whole Shroud science group, was really engaged in a kind of what's inspiring to me, this whole business of trying to build the list. I think the list is an admirable goal to try to focus in and say, what do we really know? What is known with some certainty? What is known that's perhaps still contested? And what is speculative? And try to find where to further the knowledge. So we've got a lot of knowledge down here, and we're trying to build greater knowledge all the time. Knowledge requires tools. To build knowledge, you require tools, a baseline knowledge where you're starting from, the lower tier of bricks, and then you need to do work. Now, I'm primarily focused on image analysis. for a lot of reasons. One is I don't have to worry about as much about, you know, where did my sample come from, and, you know, it's all pretty straightforward. And once I get an image, I can work on it and try to understand it. So if we restricted our attention to image analysis, and I'm doing that because that's what I have access to, we need materials, which are detailed images, analysis and programming tools, which are readily available. So from a student point of view, if you put these kinds of things together, you can build a focus project kit. So I'm kind of envisioning that we put together, and I'd like to enlist some support and help for this, some sort of a starter kit, if you will, to help students get involved in Shroud science. And it doesn't have to be restricted to image analysis, so we can figure out other things. There could be chemical experiments students could do on linen, and so forth. So what I'm going to talk about very briefly is a bunch of projects. I have 11 projects here. Some of them are more interesting than others. They're all sort of in the general matrix of image processing, so I'll talk about sort of a title, a brief synopsis, some of the goals. Some projects can be divided into sub-projects, and that's the whole idea of a focus project. Is it's a matrix, a network of things that move forward, and if you can get students involved, then one student or one group of students builds on this. I frankly think Giulio has illustrated the concept beautifully with his students. I'm truly inspired by his success in involving students over there. I wish I had anything vaguely resembling it. The first project I want to talk about is the one I call Universal Coordinate System, and I sort of put this one first in honor of Mario Latendresi, I'm not good at pronouncing complicated names. Schneider is about as far as I ever got, and it's good German names. But Mario inspired me, and he brought out to the forefront the fact that we don't even have a universal coordinate system for referring to the Shroud of Turin, and especially if you go cross-image. It would be nice to have an absolute coordinate system where I say, here's two coordinates, the upper left-hand corner, the right-hand corner, and that coordinate system is a universal system, and I can just go plug that then into with a little data about each image, and boom, up comes that portion of the image in that particular image. So universal coordinate system, this is something people that are geometers, people who like to do complex, affine, I'm not sure I even understand the thing, but these complicated geometrical transforms, you could take one, and this is, the image on the left is Durante 2000, the image on the right is Schwartz 1978. The idea would be to be able to take a coordinate, an absolute coordinate system and apply it, and boom, you get, through that, you can get both images and if you're doing some research. Now that's really helpful if you want to compare among images. Now right now we can do it, but we do it manually, and we do it imperfectly. It would be cool to have a universal coordinate system. Color normal